when you fear. There's no easy way to hear. And all the memories you love to bring, with all the things that you hate to scream. So tell me, hollow on the inside, there's no trying to hide from this monster inside me. So if you try to criticize me like the world defines me, image of what I have become.
All right, hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Browns Beat podcast. I am one half of your co-host. My name is Tristan. I'm here with my man Derek. Derek, so the Cleveland Browns fall to the Cincinnati Bengals 21-14. Quite an eventful game. There's a lot to talk about. A lot of everything. Let me just put it like that. To start the podcast, though, we agreed that we were going to start off with the hot button topic immediately after this game, and that's Deshaun Watson. For those of you who are unaware, Deshaun Watson, in the middle of the game, essentially ruptured his Achilles tendon trying to scramble. It was very, very obvious. You don't even need a doctor to diagnose that. You could see it clear as day. And as he was being loaded up onto the cart, Huntington Bank Stadium rang out with cheers. There were a lot of people celebrating Deshaun Watson's injury. And then after the game, multiple players, including Myles Garrett, Jameis Winston, Ogbo Okoronkwo, and several others, voiced their disgust for the behavior from those fans. That's where we're at now. So, Derek, I'll let you start on this, okay? When it comes to everything that just happened there, everything that I just listed and explained, tell me what you're feeling. Like, what were you feeling when Deshaun went down? What are your thoughts on how the fans responded? And what are your thoughts on how the Cleveland Browns players in particular responded post-game?
Yeah, well, I'll start off by saying I've been doing this for a couple years now, and I think this is the hardest before coming on to discuss something that I've felt. Like, there's a lot to unpack, but also it's not an easy thing to unpack. And we're just going to do our best, everybody. But so for me, I didn't, and I told Tristan this before we started, I was at work. As I am for a lot of these games. It just so happened we had new people starting, and I didn't really get to see everything live. This was one of the things I did not see live. I kind of learned about everything as it unfolded via text and via social media. I will say this. And I want to make this clear because I do believe these are two separate things. Deshaun Watson getting booed to open in introductions, 100% okay, 100% fine, and probably 100% warranted of Deshaun Watson getting booed coming onto the field. However, the cheering of Deshaun Watson's injury is not something that is okay. Deshaun Watson, as bad as he has been playing, as bad as it's been, as bad as this whole thing has been, and I'll just say it, like, he might be done for good, like, in the league. And I know, I don't even want to open that can, but I'm just saying, the fact that this could be it for him in the NFL, I think for sure it is. I think we've seen the last of him in a Cleveland Browns uniform. But for him to go out this way with fans cheering that you got hurt is one tough, hard pill to swallow. And listen, like it's not a good look at all. And I really do feel bad that Deshaun in his entire career of football, right? When you look at it from the big picture perspective, if this is the end, man, that's rough. To Browns fans, listen, I've been calling for Deshaun to be benched. We've been calling for Deshaun to be benched. Many Browns fans have been calling for Deshaun Watson to be benched. Emphasis on benched. Tristan, this is just my opinion. I view it as an organizational failure that this happened because Deshaun Watson should not have gotten injured because I think because of play, there should have been another option in there. That's just me. But that's not what happened. And this is a crazy timeline of events that we're in right now. But from the player's perspective, from Myles to Obo to Greg Newsome had a lot to say. I 100% get it because you got to think about it from their perspective. And you mentioned this, but I'm going to say a little bit different from what you're going to say. I don't think playing bad warrants celebration of an injury in any circumstance. And I understand the off the field stuff. I understand there's more to Deshaun Watson than just a player. But the reality of the situation is, regardless of what anybody thinks, believes on it, they are allegations. Nothing is proven. So, I mean, you can say, oh, well, he's a terrible person. Okay, you're allowed to have that opinion. But there's only a couple people who know for sure. And again, I don't want to dive into that can of worms, but it just sucks. Tristan, there needed to be a change at quarterback, and this is not how it should have happened. That's the best way that I can kind of sum it up. And I understand the players being upset. Because you gotta think about it. Like, if they go out and have a bad game and then they get hurt, like, are they gonna get cheers for them being hurt? That's what they are thinking. And that's not okay. That's not okay. And it is a bad look. It's a bad look when it comes to the rest of the league. It's a bad look when it comes to, potential free agents, draft picks, people who you want to bring into this organization. A fan base that should be regarded as the best in the NFL, the most passionate, caring fan base in the NFL, really has a bad look right now. And there's really nothing I can say because we deserve it. We deserve it for what happened today. So, just not a good situation. I did not think we would be sitting here today and this would be the direction that this would go. But here we are. Here we are, Tristan. So I'm going to send it over to you. Obviously, there's a lot to unpack, but just from this instance and this situation, what was your thoughts? What's your reaction to it? And I mean, it's just that.
Yeah. So here I'll start sort of where you left off with the player side of it, right? We were talking before we came live because we wanted to make sure we got our thoughts clear. Because this is a very difficult situation, right? Because there's so many angles to this. So let me start with the players because this I am the most solidified in my point of view, in my personal opinion. These players, they don't have the same perspective on Deshaun Watson that you, I, or any other fan has of Deshaun Watson. To them, this is their teammate, and ever since they were little kids, they were taught that your teammates are your brothers, right? You're supposed to look after one another, you go to war together, right? And you make sacrifices for your team. And that includes getting hurt for the team trying to do your best, and that also means doing it for the fans, doing it to make them happy. And so for these players, you know, seeing their brother go down, get hurt in that situation, and then rather being treated like a hero, he's being cheered for his injury. Like that's just by having a little bit of empathy for those players. Yeah, I get it. I get why they're upset. I get why they're disgusted. And I completely believe that they're justified to feel that way. I think this situation is more complicated than just that straight up. But at the same time, like, yeah, I mean, listen, like, he got hurt trying to make a play for the betterment of this team. And, you know, say what you want about Deshaun Watson as a person or a football player and, like, how he plays and all that. One thing that has been talked about routinely, not only by the fans, but also by us, he's tough. He takes a lot of hits. You know, he's battled. He's tried, right? It's not an effort thing with Deshaun Watson, right? If it was effort, everybody would love him, right? Because he does give effort. Now let's pivot this more towards the fan side of it, right? I'm not going to tell fans how they should feel about Deshaun Watson, right? Because from the day that trade was made to bring him here, it fractured the fan base. There was a divide. There was a little bit of middle ground, and there were a lot of very, very strong emotions in every direction of this. And it did cause a lot of divide and a lot of tension. There were fans that were not okay with this, but still stuck by this team because this is the Cleveland Browns. It's part of my family. It's part of, you know, my upbringing. It's part of who I am, right? And you can't just let go of that. You can't just throw it out, right? It's not that easy. Especially when you're around the city or around this team and you see it for yourself. Like, I mean, you go to the Muni lot, like, Derek, how many, like, specialized old school buses are there of dogs and, like, all decked out Cleveland Browns stuff? Like, clearly these people have spent thousands of dollars on this, and I'm sure aliens look down on it and they're like, damn, that's a weird cult. Like, you know,
there's a Cybertruck wrapped in a Cleveland Browns helmet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, you know, this you know, it, so this is like a, you know, it's special to this city. It's not just a sports team, right? It's pretty much like a way of life here. And so it makes it complicated. It does, because when Deshaun got here, a lot of it was, now you got to kind of question your morals. You know, you have to justify. And, you know, there are some fans that felt the need to voice their disagreement in that moment. And I'll say this right here, right now. If I was in that stadium, I would not have said a word. I would not have said a word. Right? I don't agree with that myself. But at the same time, I can understand why those fans did what they did, but I don't agree with it. And I think it's the wrong response. I didn't want Deshaun to get hurt. I didn't want it to end like this, right? I'm with you, Derek. I wanted a benching. I didn't want him to have a terrible injury. That was the worst way that he could have possibly gone out. By far. The worst way. And it was not right cheering for that. It was not. So let me pivot into another direction now, because at the end of the day, there's one place where we can direct all of this blame, and that's ownership, and that's management. The second that the Cleveland Browns decided to do this deal, to bring Deshaun Watson here, again, I'll reiterate because I said it already. It fractured the fan base. It created a divide. It created tension. And this shouldn't have gotten to this point. It should not have gotten to this point. How it should have gone, in my opinion, was about a week or 2 weeks ago, he should have been benched. Because it was clear. It was clear as day. It wasn't getting better. Not only that, but the voices of the fans should have been put into consideration. Because it was very clear where the majority of this fan base stood on the situation. And it was irresponsible to let him go back on that field at home today against a division rival. Again, I'm not justifying what the fans did with cheering him as he got carted off. I don't agree with it. Even though I can, at some level, empathize with them and understand it's not right. It never will be right. This should have been fixed a long time ago. It was a preventable problem, and it didn't get prevented. That's what it came to, Derek. That's what it came to. As far as where we go from here, I think that this is just the beginning of the fallout. You heard post-game a lot of the players very upset, and listen, rightfully so. If I was in their shoes, I'd probably feel the exact same way, right? But I can't help but sit here and say that this isn't something that the organization created for themselves. They created this. This is the situation that they created. And ultimately, Deshaun Watson didn't deserve that. Deshaun Watson should have been sat a couple weeks ago. He should not have been in that situation. But because of the decisions of management, of ownership, of coaching to keep him in, we ended up getting what we got yesterday. So, personally, I think the biggest issue of this was management, ownership, coaching, whoever's making the decision to keep him in there, being out of touch with the fans. Because if they would have understood what the fans wanted, what the fans cared about, this wouldn't have happened. So, certainly Deshaun Watson, I hope you're able to come back from your Achilles. I hope you recover well. Yeah, it's such a difficult situation. And unfortunately, it's the fallout from a very, very terrible situation where a lot of terrible decisions were made that could have been prevented.
Yeah. I completely agree, and I think it is an absolute disgrace of an organizational failure. And this was a crazy, crazy week to be a Browns fan. Like, you had Amari traded, you had Brook Park official, which who knows when we'll talk about that, but that's official. You had, again, the Deshaun stuff of, hey, yeah, he's our guy, he's going, whatever. And there's other stuff that I can't even remember. Nick Chubb coming back. You had the letter, which was amazing. And Tristan, I mean, it's stupid and it's dumb and doesn't matter, but I thought it was hilarious that this team was like, oh, they're pissed? Orange pants. That's what we're wearing this week. That'll make them happy. Like, bro, this week as a Browns fan was absurd. Like, it was absurd. And listen, here's the deal. They put a lot into this trade. They put a lot into Deshaun Watson as a player. It's done. And where do you go from here? Where do we go from here? The golden goose isn't here. And they tried to make it work. So much so that it cost them who knows what. Tristan, we could be looking back. And I kind of want to transition into this side of things. We could look back at this was a moment of guys saved their jobs or lost their jobs. Because Tristan, for me, guess what, Kevin? I'm looking straight at you because it is your turn now. Deshaun is out of the picture. And again, it is unfortunate how it happened. It is unfortunate that it happened by injury because it should have happened by an organization, a coach, and a general manager looking themselves in the mirror and saying, hey, this didn't work. And it had to happen from a man, rupturing his Achilles. And that really sucks. But as an organization now, guess what? The decision was forced. And now you have to play a different quarterback. And Tristan, I think Kevin Stefanski is 100% coaching for his job now. These last remaining, and I wouldn't even say the rest of the season. I would say these next 5 to 6 games, Kevin Stefanski is coaching for his job. You have an offense that has not scored 20 points or more. You haven't had a quarterback, or you haven't had a passing game of, I believe, over 200 yards. And listen, it's all on Kevin now. You have Nick Chubb back. You have your guy who you've ran your offense through for the last 4 or 5 years. You have a veteran quarterback in Jameis Winston because DTR also has an injury, which is yet to be determined what's going to go on there. I'm guessing that Jameis is starting this week, at least against Baltimore. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think this is the moment where we figure out, is Kevin Stefanski the head coach of this team or not? That's what it comes down to. Again, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but the decision was made for you. Fair, unfair, whatever. The decision was made for you, and now you have to adapt. And I think if Kevin does not come out and go to his bread and butter and really take command of this team, because Jameis Winston is this team's leader now. Jameis Winston is the vocal leader. Nick Chubb is the on-field leader. But the reality of the situation is, Tristan, we still had 10 penalties for 80 yards today. 10 for 80 yards. This has been a problem consistently throughout the season, and it's a coaching thing. It's a coaching thing. And what I want to see from Kevin Stefanski is I want to see a coach step up, fill those shoes, be the guy as the head coach of this football team. Change up your game plan, change up your offense, do whatever you got to do, and win some football games. It is 21-14 today, Tristan. 21-14. We're going to get into the game briefly, but I know the Browns scored late, but the Browns could have won this game. The Bengals were not unreal. They're a bad football team too, or at least they're playing bad right now. The Browns are going to have to win some games. We have to see what this is going to be. We need to decide, is Kevin Stefanski the next coach? And we need to see what Andrew Berry's draft picks can do. And that's what we're going to see, Tristan. We are going to see, and we're going to get our answers. And those answers are going to determine the future of this team. That's just what it is. So,
Yeah.
back over to you.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, especially when it comes to Kevin, right? Because we were talking, and I did mention as well when I was kind of talking about that whole the whole quarterback situation with Deshaun in particular, that this could be a much bigger fallout. This could just be a piece of it, a moment. show me what your culture is, Kevin, because this is the chance to completely unravel. We saw a little bit of that already with Jerry Jeudy, visibly upset on the sidelines, throwing his helmet, sitting alone, and having getting emotional essentially. You saw it in other aspects as well. It wasn't just him. That was the one that the broadcast highlighted the most, but certainly it was more than just him. This could get very ugly very quick if you don't have the right guy in the room. Because if you have that right guy, it's not going to unravel that way. It's not. You'll have strong leadership. You'll have a good command of that locker room. And the players will respect you. And they will not do anything to mess that up. Right? This is going to tell us what are the players, what's the culture inside that locker room. And that is going to be the biggest indicator with Kevin Stefanski for if he should remain as the head coach next year. My personal opinion is I think we'll be okay. I think that I trust Kevin. I think the players and the leadership trusts Kevin. I think that it won't go down that route, but I would be lying if I said I knew it was going down that route. In terms of kind of, the disappointment side of it, because I do want to just touch on this, right? There is a lot of frustration now. There's a lot, especially with these fans, because listen, we traded so much of this team's future. We signed away so much of the available cap space, and where are we at now? Like it's just, Derek, we were talking before we started recording, like this isn't a young team anymore. Like this is now I think the third oldest roster in the league. Like you decided to attach so many of your best players' primes to this, and you fell flat on your face. And the way it ended, also, it could have ended so much better. It could have, but it didn't. It didn't. And that falls on the leadership of management and ownership. And this has been a repetitive thing under this ownership. 100%. You've seen it so many times throughout this team's history since coming back to Cleveland, where this organization has just tripped over its own feet so many times. And at the end of the day, I want to see ownership take some blame for this. I do. I want to see ownership. I want to see management take some blame, take some responsibility, because at the end of the day, this is unacceptable for anybody that was impacted by this. The fans, the players, everybody that was involved in this, everybody that got impacted by this, it falls directly on the leadership of the organization. So, yeah, I know that they don't, it's not in their job description to always answer media and always be available to the media, but when it ends like this, yeah, they should. They absolutely should answer for this, because this is bull. This is bull. The players shouldn't have to deal with it. The fans shouldn't have to deal with it. It should be them. And this is their mess. So that's the last thing I'll say in regards to that in particular. All I can say now is I agree with you, Derek. I think that Jameis Winston probably will be the starter against Baltimore. I wouldn't be opposed to, if DTR is healthy, right? That's the important thing. If he's healthy, giving him another game or two, because I think it makes too much sense to at least give him an opportunity to show what he has, because really, Derek, can you confidently say what DTR is at this point? You really don't know. I mean,
I'm going based on what I saw last year after he was able to prepare, that Steelers game.
Yeah.
And I think that's a competent backup.
Yeah, exactly. But he's also gotten better since then, and we know that because of what we saw in the preseason. So, and this is still a young guy too. So it's like, I think that he at least should have an opportunity at some point throughout the rest of this year to get at least a couple more games in where he can prep as a starter, because as an organization, you'd be failing if you didn't at least see what you had. The Niners fell flat on their face with Trey Lance. They did, and it was terrible. And then they ended up giving a quarterback that they picked, last pick in the draft out of Iowa State, an opportunity, and he picked it up and he ran with it, and he's taken them to a Super Bowl. Like, I think that is where I'm at with this team. See if you got something there, and if you don't, that's fine. Then absolutely, yeah, give Winston the run. But just if this guy goes somewhere else, and he's great somewhere else,
oh man,
this fan base is going to lose their mind. The stadium will be in ash, Derek, if that were to happen. The stadium would be in ashes. So, because they did it with Flacco. He's gone, and he's looked great for the Colts after he's looked great here. And then a rookie that they drafted and developed goes somewhere else and starts and is good. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, it would be a nightmare. So, yeah, we got to be careful here. We do. Yeah, it's such a difficult situation to navigate. But, Derek, before we kind of go to the game itself, any final thoughts on just overall where we're at right now as an organization?
Yeah, I want to touch on what you said with Jimmy and D, because the reality of the situation is everything about this football team, everything about this organization is up in limbo. Like every single aspect of it. You don't know what the quarterback position is going forward. You don't really know what the running back position is going forward. The wide receiver position we need to figure out as well, and that's going to be tough. The offensive line is in limbo. Defensively, I think that's the best part of your team, but also guys are getting older, and you're going to have to figure that out. The coaching staff, is Kevin the guy? Your management, is Andrew Berry the guy? Every single aspect of this football team is in limbo. And the reason for that, again, is you hitch yourself to a $230 million wagon, and unfortunately, it has fallen. It has fallen on its face, and it is over. And the reason why I completely agree, and I repeat everything that you're saying here, is why should we trust you? Why should we trust you going into the future? To figure this out. And this is why I brought up the point of with Andrew, we got to see what his draft picks are. We have to see what his moves are. Cedric Tillman today, and we'll get into the game itself, but like him having a really good game. Okay. All right. There's something. Where's Jamari Thrash? Why haven't we seen him? There's a lot of this team, and I think this is the first time as a fan of any sports franchise that I've really looked at it and gone, man, everything is up in limbo. And I understand we had the 0-16, the 1-15. We've had 8 billion coaches, 8 billion quarterbacks. We've had all kinds of turnover. But the problem is, Tristan, this is not the team to have the turnover. And I've said it. I said it last week. I'll say it again this week. I don't think we need a rebuild, but that's what we're staring towards. And we're at the point where we're going to find out, is this a reload and a retooling of this roster? Or is this a complete, utter tear down, get rid of everybody, rebuild? I don't think that's what it should be. But we are going to find out. We are going to find out, because if we don't win another game and Kevin Stefanski's fired, Andrew Berry is fired, and this all has to be restarted again, you could see key pieces of this roster gone. And I don't think that needs to happen, but We're at the point right now, as it sits today, we are week 7? We have no idea. We have absolutely no idea what is next with this team, what is next with this organization. I can't even give you a good guess offensively who's going to be on this team next year. Like, the only player that I can say with confidence that is going to be a starting member of this offense is David Njoku. Like, that's it. Cedric Tillman, that's it.
Jerry Jeudy, maybe.
Or Jerry Jeudy, yeah. You could throw him in there. Which, boy, do I have a lot to say on him. But, Tristan, listen. Again, everything is in limbo because of decisions made by ownership. And at some point, they have to bite the bullet and address this. Because you, as an ownership, I understand coaching, general manager, front office. Like, there's many levels to running a franchise. But ultimately, nothing gets done unless ownership signs off on it. And Jimmy and Dee Haslam, as much as we have applauded them for some of the things that they've done, they have to take the bullet. They have to take the bullet on this. And they have to give us, whether if it's now, whether if it's the end of the season, whether if it's the off season, they need to give us a real good reason why they should be trusted, when it comes to overseeing the future of this football team. That's what it comes down to. So, Tristan, I said it to you before we started. Boy, oh boy, is this podcast and this fan base and this community of Browns fans, boy, is this going to be interesting come April. Because I can't tell you, as we sit today, I have no idea. I have no idea what we're going to be talking about. We have the number 1 pick right now. Number 1 pick. Number 1. And this was a team that we talked about at maybe minimum 10 wins. This has been an utter, complete failure in the worst possible way. And I can't tell you what's going to happen. We can give you our opinions, right? Me and Tristan can sit here every week and tell you, oh, well, I think this is what we got to do. And I think we should either stick with Kevin, draft Shador, do whatever you want. We can give out all of our opinions. Ultimately, it does not matter. Like, we can talk about it day and night. It does not matter. What matters is this organization, the structure, who's running it, who's making the decisions. And if you don't have any confidence in that, boy, it can make 0-16 look like cake work. I mean, that's reality. So I'll shut up now. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Absolutely. Well said. The other thing, Derek, the other reason why ownership especially should have to own up to this and talk about this is, we wouldn't have gotten Deshaun Watson if ownership didn't fork over a $230 million contract. He told us no. We could have just moved on, but we couldn't take the no for the answer. And we did something that was very stupid. We made a very stupid decision because we went all in on somebody that, forget the off the field stuff, hadn't played football in a year and a half. NFL football, hadn't played it in a year and a half. And you paid him before he even got here and earned the money. And I know I applauded them for doing that with Jerry Jeudy, but at the same time, I said it was a risk because we don't know if he's going to be that guy. And we'll talk about him in a few minutes. But, just again, stumbling over your own feet when you really didn't have to. You really didn't have to, and you did anyway. Yeah, I mean, again, Derek, exactly what you said. We can give you our opinions on what we think that this team should do moving forward, but it really does not matter. It really just matters what's eventually going to happen. What's going to happen at the end of the season? What's going to happen in April? What decisions are going to be made? I'll just say my opinion real quick. Do not blow it up. Do not. You have to create a winning culture and a stable culture. And if you're going to try to find, especially a quarterback who's going to be your next franchise guy, especially in the draft, you have to have stability. Mm-hmm. Now, do you trust the person that's making the decisions for bringing in and selecting that next quarterback? That's a question mark, and I think that's debatable. Derek. But in terms of the players and the coaching, keep it. Absolutely keep it, especially for right now. That's at least my thoughts. But we will have to eventually move into this game. But I don't know if you want to give your thoughts on what we should be doing, where you're sitting right now.
The last thing I want to say is, if you're a fan of this team, if you are a fan of the Cleveland Browns, buckle up, because this is going to be a wild ride. And this might be a ride that lasts an off season. It could last 1 year, 2 years, 5 years. Like, we don't know. And that is the worst part of this whole thing, is we are such in limbo right now. And the future is so unknown with this team that, again, our best guesses mean nothing. They mean nothing. And only time is going to tell. And, I'll be honest with you. I do have faith that this is going to get turned around. And I said it last week. I'll say it again, Tristan. I don't care. I think there's a world where this team wins 10 games next year. Like, I don't think, and I agree with you completely, I don't think this has to be a complete rebuild. But at the end of the day, said it last week, say it again, this is by far the most important offseason for the Cleveland Browns ever. And I said it might be, I think it is the most important offseason for a franchise in professional sports ever. That is where this is. And the desperation that we are at on getting this right is the difference between a reload and a 5+ year rebuild. So I'm sorry. Like, I'm genuinely sorry, Browns fans. Like, I'm sorry that we are in this spot. It's not our fault. And I can't even say we don't deserve it, because look what happened today. So, let's just move into the game.
Yeah. So, let's start with the big headline coming into today, as well as probably the best moment of the game. Nick Chubb. Nicholas Jamal Chubb returned for the Cleveland Browns. Batman has returned to Gotham, and he got a touchdown.
Oh, it's Gotham.
It's Gotham.
Oh, it's Gotham, all right.
It's Gotham, yeah.
Ooh.
Oh man, that's so ironic and hilarious.
Yeah.
But Nick Chubb is back. And Derek, when he got that touchdown, I damn near cried. Oh, I was so happy for him, and just damn, like, yes, that felt so good. I was so happy for him. Yeah, I wish he could be a Cleveland Brown for life. I really wish, and I love Nick Chubb. I love Nick Chubb. So, what were your thoughts on Nick Chubb's return and just his overall performance today?
Yeah, I think it's the only positive this team has right now. I'll be honest with you.
There's maybe a couple more, but yeah, I hear you.
But from a just, again, you mentioned this, an attachment to the team, right? Seeing number 24 in shoulder pads and a helmet run onto that field was such a special moment that it was like, okay, we got our guy. Because Nick Chubb is the Cleveland Browns. Let's be honest. Like, Myles Garrett is too, but Nick Chubb is the Cleveland Browns. I would say Myles Garrett can't score points, but he's done it before, so, I can't even really say that. But, yeah, and I'll be honest with you, just even getting ready for this, writing Chubb and his stats made me smile. Because it's like, oh, it's so good to have him back. It's very unfortunate that this is what he's coming back to. But yes, Nick Chubb, again, the debate was, what's his workload going to be? What are we going to see out of him? He had 11 carries, 22 yards, and a touchdown. I know he didn't break 128 yards and 2 touchdowns like he did on 3 carries in the Raiders game. I know, everybody. But again, when you talk about the rest of this season on the field, I think Nick Chubb is like the biggest bright spot of your best chance of winning games. And again, I don't even want to say I don't know the future with him, but I will definitely enjoy watching Nick Chubb for the rest of the season, because you don't know. And I love Nick. I love Nick Chubb. I think when you talk about Cleveland Browns, right? And you talk about, this happens with the Patriots, this happens with the Steelers, right? Organizations have guys that you look and you're like, yep, that's a Patriot. That's a whatever. For me, I think Chubb is our guy. Myles is our guy. Those guys who show up, come to work, they don't say much, they don't do much as far as vocal wise, but they put in the work and they get the job done. Not saying you can have all 53 of those guys on a roster. Certainly not saying that. But the most vocal leaders are the ones who say nothing at all. And that's what Nick Chubb is. And I know he didn't do anything spectacular today, but having number 24 on the field will be a significant boost to this team and whatever this rest of the season's going to look like. So thank you, Chubb, for coming back and giving us some sentiment of feeling at home with this team.
Yeah, well said. Exactly, well said. Yeah, as far as his performance today, I mean...
Damn it, man.
I know. But, yeah, as far as his performance today, listen, like, I felt like since he just sold out to stop the run, there really was not a lot of opportunity for him. But, I thought he looked okay. I think he's been our best back so far this year, for sure. You can tell he's not at the peak of his powers, but you can tell he's close. Like it's not like such a significant drop off that it's like, is he really the same guy? Like it's not like you're looking. It's not like what the Cowboys had with Zeke, right? Where it wasn't like his first few years there where he was just unbelievable, and then now he's just like a shell of himself. Like it's not that. He's close. He's close. He's still Nick Chubb. He's still that guy. He's not the shell of Nick Chubb. So that was exciting to see. I hope that we can execute better in the run game, especially on the offensive line side of things. I think that there were some good things today, but it certainly was not perfect. So, I can't see that too well. Oh, DTR. Oh, yep, I remember that play. Yeah, Jed Wills, welcome to Walmart. Yeah, like
offensive line.
Yeah.
By the way, this picture, and I'm so sorry to cut you off, but this picture says everything you need to know about this offensive line. Right there.
Yeah.
He's blocking air, Tristan.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah. He was looking to his left on that step before that picture. Like he was looking to his left.
Oh my gosh! Somebody just put an end to this torture.
Oh
Like,
man.
oh.
Yeah, if it was Madden, just sim to the end of the season. Just
Yeah.
just sim. Just sim. See how many skill points DTR has, see if you need to draft a QB. You know? like that's what this is. Yeah.
I'm sorry. You said offensive line, and my brain just went to block and air.
Yeah.
Like, bro.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
Oh my gosh. Ship Jedrick Wills to North Korea, bro. Like, what are we doing?
No.
Oh.
Let's not go that far. All right. All right. But Nick Chubb.
Back to
stay on
the
him.
good part of this team.
I think he'll get better, especially statistically. As this team, and you saw it again, it took a bigger step towards that Kevin Stefanski style offense. A lot under center, a lot of the pulling guard schemes in the run game. You know, there was a lot to be happy with in terms of conforming back to the old offense. Now, with that being said, let's move on from Chubb. Let's talk about the rest of the offense, and let's start at the offensive line. Yeah, that play with Jed, I mean, quite literally, Derek, if you were to look at that in a clip, I kid you not, he looks to his left where there's nobody. There is nobody over there. The right end, Hendrickson, just goes right inside. Just right inside. He was teeing off on him all day today, by the way. I mean, there was quite literally a moment where when Jameis was in, I think it was a second down. We were at like it was right before that third down where we threw the ball. I think it went to Njoku, which got us the first down and goal to go. It was that second down right before that where Hendrickson, I'm not kidding you, the ball snapped, he stands still. And I'm not kidding. Like, it wasn't that they did a stunt and he like, ooh, and he like instantly went off the ball and went inside. He stood still. Jed Wills is T pushing. and he just, okay. And then he just like goes behind his D tackle and there's like a wide lane Jameis. He steps up. Luckily, Hendrickson was only able to get one arm on him because Jameis saw it coming and stepped through it. But he eventually got sacked. Like, that was, I could not believe that when I saw that. This is somebody who just knows that the guy he's lining up against is just like not going to be in the league next year. like
Kellen Mond is playing left tackle right now for the Cleveland Browns. Like, that's where we're at. You know the meme, like the Scooby-Doo meme where it's like the bag's ripped off?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, we knew it was you. I know it's you, Kellen. I know it is. It's got to be. It's the only explanation.
Oh,
the guy I watched at Alabama, there's no way.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way this is the same player.
Yeah, no. Yeah, like, even if you switched him over to the right side of the line, like, are you even confident that he'd do okay? Even though that's his natural position where he probably would play the best? No, I'm not. I think he's a liability wherever he's at. He has gotten worse year after year he's been here. What does that tell you?
Mm-hmm.
What does that tell you? This is not a guy that's focusing on his craft. It's clear.
I just want to throw this in real fast in the sake of a comedy relief here. I met defensive end for the Denver Broncos, Jonathan Cooper, yesterday. Great guy. Love talking to him. Tristan, he's maybe an inch taller than me. Maybe an inch taller than me. Now, obviously, he's stronger. Like, I wouldn't say I'm weak, but I'm not a defensive end in the NFL. Like, he's obviously way stronger than me. Tristan, I genuinely I line it up. I want Jedrick Wills. Line it up. Because I think
That's crazy.
there is a chance.
That's
I
crazy.
think there's a chance.
No.
No, I'm joking. Again,
Stop.
this is all a joke. This is all a joke. But Jonathan Cooper was a great dude, by the way. for any of you Buckeye fans who watch this. Great dude, awesome. Love talking to him. It was cool. It was crazy. I'm like, what? Why are you here? He's like, oh, well, we have a mini bye week. We just played New Orleans and we don't play till next Sunday. I was like, oh, okay. And then, yeah. I'm not even going to share the full interaction because in hindsight now, after today, like, yeah, Tristan knows.
I know.
All I'll say is I told him to take it easy on us, okay? And he laughed and said no. So,
Yes.
yeah, he's going to have at least 3 sacks against us, and it's going to be all on me. It's going to be my fault.
It's gonna be your fault. So, so yeah, but this O line is, especially Jed, is not good. It's not, and like it's genuinely at a point now where it's like, do we take a tackle with our first pick? Like it's that bad, Derek, and for such an important position, we got to get it right, especially if we're going to bring in a young guy. We have to get it right. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But, yeah. And I mean, it's just, it's tough. I mean, Ethan Posich, I didn't notice him being a complete liability today. So that's a positive. Jack Conklin, same thing. So I guess that's a positive. Zinter, I thought was okay, which is good. Batonio, he recovered a fumble, so that's good. Yeah, that's about all I've got for this offensive line. Unless you have any other final thoughts, let's talk about these receivers.
I'm just thinking of memes that I can churn out of these 2 pictures of Jedrick Wills and Kevin Stefanski. Just
oh man,
that's all that's going through my head right now. This team brings pain. This place brings pain and suffering. Not all the time,
yeah,
but
not all the time. Well, we have some moments. So, yeah.
oh my god.
Yeah, receivers. Let's talk about it before we get into quarterbacks, because I do want to talk about quarterbacks as well. Jerry Jeudy. Let's start there, because I think that's probably the biggest negative for today in the receiver room. Throughout the game, he wasn't getting targeted. Threw his helmet on the sideline, was pouting, upset. And listen, there's part of me that's like, yeah, you know what? I justified, because this offense sucks, and he's pissed because he's not getting the ball. But at the same time, now that Coop's gone, you're the leader in that room. You got to be better. So, Derek, you know what? I want to go to you before I speak anymore on Jerry Jeudy. So, you were by far, especially between the two of us, by far the biggest advocate for Jerry Jeudy. How did his sideline antics, I'll call it, as well as his on-the-field performance today, how does that make you feel about Jerry Jeudy?
I kind of reflect the exact same thing of what you just said. Of, he's the guy right now. And again, I'm not saying he should be, but that's where we're at. He's the number one. And yeah, I get it completely. I repeat everything you just said. I understand. He was not getting targeted. You're on a terrible offense. And you want to contribute to the team and help. Great. Understandable. I get it. Not saying I would do that, but I get it. And then when you're targeted, you have some of the worst. The one drop I texted you, Tristan, that was like the worst drop I've ever seen in my life. Like, I genuinely. And the thing that sucks about it, there's a lot of people hating on Jerry Jeudy after today, and rightfully so. But Tristan, he's been the best receiver we've had all year. Like, he has been the best receiver we've had all year. And I'm still confident. Go ahead.
I don't know, man.
Well,
I don't know.
Well,
I mean, listen, to this point, as far as all the games leading up to today, yes, for sure.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm still confident, and maybe I will look back on this and laugh at myself. I am still confident that Jerry Jeudy will be a productive receiver for the Cleveland Browns throughout the rest of this year. However, you got to take your lumps when you deserve them. And today, Jerry Jeudy did not have as bad of a day as Jedrick Wills. But in the same way of you're just looking there like, are we for real? I had those moments with Jerry Jeudy today. And sure, didn't get targeted. Maybe if you target him early on in that game and he catches a ball or two, he feels better and he's not, mentally. And that's what I blame it on, Tristan. I think mentally, Jerry Jeudy is a guy that you have to really keep in the right spot. And when you don't give him the ball, everything happens the way it does. And then all that, it goes south. But that's all I had on Jerry. If you want to move on to the other guys.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
1
reception, 18 yards. That was his stats.
Oh, jeez. One thing I will say in Judy's defense, that drop that he had, at least from the angle that I saw, I didn't look back at it close. It looked like the defender in front of him may have gotten like a finger on it, but still. It hit him in the chest. He's got to bring it in. Like I really don't care if it gets tipped or what. Like if it hits you there, you got to bring it in. It's the same thing. Yeah, let's go to the biggest bright spot in this receiver room today. Cedric Tillman. This was a guy that we had been begging to step up. Obviously, early in the year, had some very, very vital mistakes and drops. And he stepped up. Cooper gets traded, and he was great today. I mean, I think the final stat line was 8 receptions for 12 yards. I think it was like 8 receptions out of 12 targets. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I think it was,
I was about to say.
Like 80-some yards.
8 for 81.
8 for 81. Yeah. Like, that's the best. Oh, Jesus, this is gonna sound bad. It's the best production we've seen out of any third-round wide receiver Andrew Berry has drafted. So, actually...
What do you mean? David Bell had a 2-touchdown game last year against the Bengals.
He did. You know what? I do like David Bell. And I thought he actually looked pretty solid this year up until his injury. So, but still.
Which add that, of course, in the time where we need to see what we have, he's hurt too.
Yeah. But... you know what? Let's bring Anthony Schwartz back. Let's see what he can do.
You know what? Why not? Why not?
Kellen Mond, put him under center.
I put him at, well, he's already at left tackle. So, yeah, maybe switch. I don't know, dude.
Who else do you not like? Siaki Ika. Let's line him up out there.
Put him at left guard.
Andrew Sendejo. That's a throwback.
Yep. Put him at receiver. I mean, he has the same hands. Oh my gosh,
all right. Let's move on.
Tillman.
Yeah. I hope he can keep this up for sure. Build on it. Please show us why we drafted you. Please make Andrew Berry look at least competent. Please. Like Cedric Tillman might save Andrew Berry's job if it really like if he ends up turning it around and ends up being like a really, really good wide receiver for us, he might save Andrew Berry's job. So we'll see. But
him and Mike Hall Jr. are very critical for Andrew Berry.
Yes,
right
they are. 100%. But with that being said, let me get your thoughts on Cedric Tillman. How do you think he did today?
Yeah, I thought he was good. This is a terrible analogy, but I'm going to use it because it's the only one that makes sense. I kind of am treating Cedric Tillman right now the same way I am Deshaun Watson. Of like, I'm not going to believe your good game until you do it over and over and over and over. You got nervous there. I could see it in your eyes.
I did.
I want to see Cedric Tillman next week against Baltimore put up 40 receiving yards or more. Like, I'm not expecting him to do 80 every game, But if he can at least put up 40, 50, 60 plus every game, I will be thrilled. Oh my gosh, I will be thrilled because that means we have a competent wide receiver 2, 3, whatever. Again, not to get into the defensive side, but let's just put it in perspective. For Cincinnati, T. Higgins had 82 today and a touchdown. Jamar had 5 for 55. 5 for 55 and a touchdown. So, Cedric Tillman to put up more yards receiving than Jamar Chase, I would have bet you everything that I owned that wouldn't happen. So I am blown away that Tillman did what he did today. But again, I want to see 40 plus from now on. I think that's more than fair. And he was the receiving leader for today for the Browns. Which, I mean, listen.
Wasn't he the receiving leader for the game, too? Like, all the receivers combined?
No.
No?
T beat him by 1 yard. Oh. Yep, 1 yard.
That's okay.
But, yeah, really good. Really good. 8, what'd you say it was? 12? 8 of 12?
Yeah, 8. So, 8 receptions, 12 targets.
Yeah.
So
that for 81 yards, that's a heck of a day.
Yeah.
That's a heck of a day.
Yeah. Not gonna lie, thinking about claiming him, picking him up on waivers for fantasy. We'll see. We'll see how that works.
Maybe.
Yeah. I'll have to see if I can spare the roster spot. I don't know. Jalen Tolbert. It's gonna be tough to part ways with him. I'm kidding. Anyway, so no, I think there's a lot of optimism with said. In terms of all the other receivers today, really there wasn't a whole lot. Oh, you got somebody?
I have stats in front of me that say otherwise.
I mean, unless you're going to talk about David Njoku.
Well, let's save Njoku for the moment. Let's save Njoku.
All right. Maybe there's somebody I didn't realize.
Okay. What do you think Elijah Moore's stats were on the day?
You know what? He actually did look fairly solid. Maybe like 4 catches for 50 yards.
6 for 41.
6 for 41.
Which is,
okay.
Out of him, that's very productive.
Yeah, pretty good, especially from your wide receiver 3. Yeah.
What do you think Jordan Akins?
Oh, I forgot about Akins. He had a great game. He honestly, like, maybe 6 receptions for 70 yards.
4 for 42.
4 for 42. Okay, wow. It felt like he had a great day, but I guess it wasn't that great. Okay.
No. But there are key signs, you got to read between the lines a little bit here, of Kevin's offense.
Yeah.
When you have a wide receiver and then 2 tight ends as your leading receivers, that's Kevin.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and we saw a lot of 2 tight end sets, 3 tight end sets. Like, you saw a lot of Kevin Stefanski's offense out there today. So that was nice to see. So.
But then Njoku, 10 for 76. So, yeah, he had himself a day.
Yeah, for sure.
Which, thank God, because having him in fantasy, expecting him to have a great year has been rough.
Yeah, fair. That's fair.
But, I think, Tristan, if we get to the spot, and next week's going to be tough because it's Baltimore, but if we get to the spot where you have Jerry Jeudy, let's just say Jeudy has the Tillman game, right? 70, 80 yards. And then you have Tillman putting up 5 for 50 or 5 for 45 or somewhere around there. And then you have Njoku being Njoku. Get Chubb involved in the run game. And then if you have a Elijah Moore giving you something, or a Jamari Thrash who needs to be on the field giving you something, then we got something. Then we can kind of figure out and play around and see what this is. But yeah.
The other thing I'll say is Sed probably could have had 2 touchdowns today. There was the OPI that DTR threw him, and that was, I mean, I was so happy with DTR on that play because it was a pre-snap read, slid the line, immediately got the ball, 2-step drop out of his hands, accurate football where it needed to be. Great play from him. And if I'm Kevin Stefanski, if I'm trying DTR again, I'm showing him that, and I'm showing him that you're clearly good enough. Because that was a great play. So, and then the other one was that like flea flicker type play that we did with Deshaun. If Deshaun would have placed the ball a little bit better, and again, if you're a great quarterback in the NFL, you can place that better. I think Sed gets it because he was much bigger and faster than the guy he was lined up against. So I think he would have came down with it. So now it would have been, could he keep it in his hands? Don't know, but he had every opportunity if that ball was placed a little bit better.
Yeah, 100%. Do you have anything else you wanted to add? Because we're already at 1 hour and 10, so I feel like we should progress things here quicker.
Yeah, David looked solid today. That's it. Quarterbacks.
Who?
David looked solid today. Njoku.
Oh, Njoku.
Because I didn't say anything about David, so I wanted to make sure I at least said something. Yeah,
I was thinking about Bell, and I'm like,
no. Let's get into quarterbacks. So when I think it's probably best that we leave Deshaun out of this for now. Let's talk about DTR. DTR, when he first stepped in, I thought looked pretty good. And then it felt like defense was kind of adjusting to what he did. And he also became a bit inaccurate. Felt like he was starting to force stuff. Pressure was getting to him. It just got pretty sloppy, essentially. The first pick that he had was not on him at all. That ball, at least, and I do have to go back and watch all 22. That ball looked like it was going for Akins, and Sed got his hand on it and tipped it right up into the air. So, who knows? But I'll decide when I look back at the all 22. But the second pick was just bad. No, it was just bad. He just overthrew his guy, or just didn't know what the routes were on that play. One of the two. It was bad. But yeah, it looked like dagger, and he just overthrew it. It's hard to tell without looking at the all 22 though. So, outside of that, I mean, like, he did a lot on the ground. I thought he was very productive with his legs. He did a good job at times of evading pressure. There's some moments where it's like you have the potential to be a very good quarterback if you could just clean this up. Like there was the fourth down where we turned the ball over on downs, where he had Chubb in the flat and just couldn't get it to him. Now, albeit Hendrickson was in his face, which, I mean, yeah, but at the same time, like, if you're going to be the guy, you got to hit that. You got to make that play. So, overall, some positives, few negatives. I do want to see some more from him, though. I don't want this to be the last that we see of him this year. That's for sure. Now, on the other hand, Jameis Winston, I thought when he came in, there was, in my opinion, a bit more composure, a lot more accurate with the football, and made some plays. I mean, that touchdown throw to David, I mean, that's why I, in particular, had wanted to see Jameis sooner. I wasn't calling for DTR. I was calling for Jameis because I thought that this team still has a chance to turn around and win. And I know that he's capable of at least being competent. And you saw that. He gave David Njoku an opportunity to go make a play. And he did it. It was a great touchdown grab. And I just thought that him throwing the football, he just looked very, very fluid, very good. Yeah, I was impressed by him today. And I mean, I think you can make the argument that he should get more of an opportunity. And I can't disagree with you at all. Like, I can't. Who knows? We'll see what direction we'll see what direction Kevin decides to go in. When I'm sure he'll have an answer by tomorrow. If not, probably by Wednesday we'll hear. So we'll see. But Derek, what were your thoughts on the quarterback play today?
So DTR, you mentioned it. He was great on the ground. He had 3 carries for 44 yards. That was great. Great moving the ball with his legs. Now he was 11 to 24 for 82 on the day. Obviously had the picks. And then Winston was 5 of 11 for 67. And obviously he had the touchdown. I'll say this. I thought DTR looked really good at first, and then things started falling apart, and he said, you know what? F it. Backyard football. Here we come. Don't care. Just going to play reckless. And ultimately, I think, I don't know. I mean, I want to see more out of DTR, but I texted you, Tristan. I don't think he's the future of this team. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he is going to be a good backup in the NFL. And who knows? Again, he's still really young. There's still a lot to figure out. But he definitely has a lot to work with. But for this team, I want it to be a competition. Like, I don't even care if they rotate games. Like, at this point, you got to see, because it's twofold. With DTR, he's young. He was a draft pick. He's developing. What can he turn into? You got to figure that out. On the flip note, Jameis Winston, when he came in, I thought he looked really good. I thought Jameis looked really good. The first throw was, oh boy. I was like, whew, this might be rough. Because I don't know if you remember, Tristan, it was literally just drop back, little dump off to whoever the running back was out there. And he so underthrew it that it, I thought it was a pick. It got tipped. But I was like, oh no. I was like, this is bad.
The receivers had a hard time today. They did.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was bad.
Yeah. But outside of that, I thought Jameis looked good. He hit the open man. Stuff that we've been saying for weeks and weeks and weeks of there's guys open, you just got to hit them. Jameis hit guys who were wide open. And honestly, Tristan, I hate to even throw this out there. We're an hour 16 in, so people who are still listening to this are diehard Browns fans. If Jameis Winston starts today, I think we win. I think there's a real chance we win this game.
I don't think that you're wrong.
Yeah.
If it was my call, he would have been the starter after the Giants.
Yeah.
And that's why at the time I said, you got the bullet in the chamber still, so I'm not ready to give up on the season. Pull the trigger. And we didn't do it. And look at the mess that's in front of us now. And everybody could have seen this coming.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. I mean, Derek, we were talking on last week's pod about how it was going to be a nightmare there. A nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
People clamoring for Jameis, clamoring for DTR. Sorry. I'll let that go.
No.
Sorry. Go ahead.
You're good. I'm just saying, I think moving forward, because we've completely shifted gears now into we got to figure out moving forward. This season is, and forever will be until the end of the season, nothing. You're not going to win anything to be important.
Yeah.
But, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, this feels like the Freddie Kitchens year where
Yep.
No matter what the result is, every game is a loss until the final game of the season ends.
Yeah.
No matter what the result is in that game, it feels like a win because it's over.
Yeah. But the one caveat that I will say is, A, figure out who your bridge quarterback's going to be if they're on this roster. B, figure out what you have at wide receiver, because that's going to need a lot of work in the offseason. C, I don't even want to have this conversation, but Nick Chubb, where are we at? Where are we at with that? D, defense. I think it's that order. And again, like I said earlier, all of this is now pointing back to one man, and his name is Kevin Stefanski. And I'm confident in Kevin. I think we'll get it figured out enough to the point where we will win a couple more games. But I'll say this. I'm confident enough in Kevin that we will be competitive is where I'm at with this whole thing. But yeah, between the two quarterbacks, I think it needs to be an open competition. Honestly, I would lean more on Jameis because I do think there would be a real world where, like, hey, Jameis, you finished out the year great for us. We're not going to make the same mistake we made with Joe Flacco. We want you to be the guy to lead us into our next. Which I don't know if he would want to do that, but at the same time, it could be a good audition for another NFL team in the same spot of like, hey, Jameis Winston can still play football and can still be a good quarterback. I think Jameis should be the guy, but I also think DTR, it needs to be open. Like, it shouldn't be locked in. But yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing to consider as well, Jameis came here with the assumption he was the backup. And today he was not. He was the third string. So if we decide to go forward with DTR, is there a situation where Jameis says, get me out of here? Like, trade me? Like, I mean, what's the point of me being the third quarterback for this team? It's not going to prolong my career. That's where this gets interesting, and that's where, again, there's going to be more fallout. like this is a situation we're in. It's such a unique and interesting situation. But yeah, I see both sides. Personally, I'm back and forth. Like, I'm going back and forth because I really do want to see DTR more before the end of the year. But maybe we play Jameis for a bit, see what he has, and listen, if we're saying to ourselves, you know what, he's good, but I don't know if we're keeping him around next year, and he ends up looking decent, and the trade deadline comes along and you get something good for him, take it, and then let DTR finish out the year. Maybe that's the route to go down, but who knows, right? That's the question. Who knows? For me, the question with Jameis is, can he be your Geno Smith? The guy that, like you said, transitions your franchise, is a solid enough. Can he be your Geno Smith? Can he be your Alex Smith? Can he be that guy that keeps the team competitive, keeps the team winning, keeps the culture positive, right? Mm-hmm. While in the background we're figuring out our long-term options and just getting this team ready to have elite players at the top of their game. Are we capable? Are we able to do that? That's the question. So
I don't think you got what I did there.
No, I don't.
I'll let you figure it out later.
Okay. All right. I do not get it at all.
There's a certain quarterback who is known for that, showing his watch. Anyway, I'll tell you later.
Okay.
I'm ready to move on to the defense real quick, if you want to, or you have anything else offensively.
Offensively, no. I'm exhausted talking about them.
Yeah. I'll go first real fast on the defense because I don't have too much to say. I thought that this was the best defensive game we've seen all year. I thought that pretty much all three levels played pretty well today. Chase Brown had 44 yards on the ground. Joe Burrow under 200 yards, 15 and 25, 181, 2 touchdowns. I think for what it could have been, right, given what the Bengals have offensively, I thought this was an outstanding day defensively. My only criticism and complaint is I had issues with tackling today. I thought there was plenty of times where they just didn't wrap up. And that pissed me off, to say the least. And I have to mention him because, fair or unfair, he played horrible today. Greg Newsome. Greg Newsome absolutely was terrible today. And whether that's fair or unfair, it's the truth. He was not good today. And again, just quickly, Tristan, we talked about it, like, he might not be on this team for much longer. And when it comes to putting out trade value and trying to put something on the film, it was a rough day. It was a rough day for Greg. So, but all in all, I thought the defense played very well. It's unfortunate that things went the way they did. Yeah, there's a lot on this all 22 that is going to be fascinating. For me, I want to see the defense. I want to see, like, okay, did we play as well as I think? Which, so that's all I have. Over to you.
Yeah, so on the defensive side, yeah, as far as Greg Newsome, we were talking a little bit about him before we got started. With Greg, I don't think he's a bad corner, right? I think that, especially when you're putting him up against what we've seen out of Denzel Ward and Martin Emerson, yeah, he looks terrible. But I think in reality, he's probably like an average corner, like second corner, maybe like lower tier second corner, right? Like, but I think he's a solid player, right? My question is, especially on the touchdown to Jamar Chase, why is Greg Newsome on Jamar Chase? Why? Why? That just shouldn't be the case. That's such a mismatch. No safety help over the top either. I mean, listen, like, I know that I talked before about how this team needed to get more aggressive, needed to play more man. I didn't mean be stupid with it, right? Like, that was the only part of the game where I thought that Jim Schwartz just shot himself in the foot. Because, yeah, I think Greg Newsome's okay, but that does not mean he should be on an island with Jamar Chase, one of the premier wide receivers in the NFL. That should not have been the case. Not at all. But we'll see what happens with him. I mean, certainly he's a trade candidate for sure. I would be open to it at this point because, I mean, I don't know. It's just, again, he's our third corner, right? He's not replacing Denzel. He's not replacing Martin. So if you can get something solid for him, get something solid for him. I do want to talk about Martin Emerson, though, because I thought he has had a rough start to the season. This was the Martin Emerson that we were used to seeing all of last year. All over it today. Amazing turnaround by him, and we needed him today. I mean, those wide receivers, they're good wide receivers, so you got to be at the peak of your powers. But what I will say, and again, this is going to fall back on Jim Schwartz, and again, he coached a great game. There were just two instances where I thought he needed to be better. The first one I mentioned, Greg Newsome on Jamar Chase on an island. Just why? And then the second one, Cam Mitchell on T. Higgins. That led to that touchdown. I know, listen, Cam Mitchell, got to wrap up. Got to get the guy to the ground. But it's T. Higgins. Why do you have Cam Mitchell on him? Like, that just didn't make sense to me, and it led to another touchdown. That's 14 points. Like, yeah, that's where, what was a really good game for the defense could have been a great game for the defense. But listen, I mean, it's not always going to be perfect. So, you know what? I can live with it. I can live with it, especially with where this team's at right now. We kept Cincy to 21 points, and we only got 14. Like, that's, at the end of the day, that does fall on the offense. So, yeah, it's pretty cut and dry right there. Linebackers, I mean, I thought JOK was solid today. On the D-line, I thought the D-line did a good job of getting some pressure, especially Zadarius Smith. I noticed moments of Michael Hall creating some pressure, which was nice. Yeah, I mean, overall, like, top to bottom, you're absolutely right, Derek. It was by far the best game this defense has had. It's just there were a couple moments. It was a couple moments that the straw broke the camel's back. And when you've got an offense that's as terrible as ours is, the margin for error is non-existent. So, yeah, so it's tough. It's really tough. Mm-hmm. But hopefully we'll turn it around at least a little bit offensively. I would like to, cheer for 2 touchdowns in a game, please. Or more than 2, I should say. Please, I beg. But yeah, we'll see. I'm really intrigued to see what this team looks like next week, because it will tell us everything about how the rest of the season is going to go.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. But that's all I have.
Oh, final thought. Special teams was terrible today. Abysmal. D-Hop cost us at least 4 points. I would argue 7. Missing the PAT, missing a field goal, and then that 4th and 1 that we went for it, and the one where DTR threw it too short to Chubb, that was in field goal range as well. And Kevin's not going back to D-Hop because he already missed. So, that was bad. And then opening kickoff return for a touchdown.
Oh, bro.
Oh, my gosh. Just pathetic. Just pathetic. It's the first play from scrimmage, man. Like, be prepared. And the fact
I just started laughing.
I did too, because I was like, oh boy, here we go again. But honestly, I think the only reason why it's not being talked about as much is because of all the craziness that followed it. I mean, you had Nick Chubb, you had the Deshaun Watson injury. Like, that's a moment that will probably be forgotten completely, and you could argue it decided the game, because both of the offenses scored the same amount of points. So, welcome to the 2020.
Oh my gosh.
The 2024 Cleveland Browns. Welcome. Oh my goodness.
All right, I'm done.
I am too. All right.
Goodbye, everybody.
Have a good night, y'all.
Go Browns, I guess. Bye.